stand and sing it with us. Let's go.
I'll praise in the valley and praise on the mountain. I'll praise when I'm sure and praise when I'm doubting. I'll praise when outnumbered and praise when surrounded. 'Cause praise is the water my enemies drowning. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord, oh my soul. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. I'll praise when I feel it and praise when I don't. Hey, I'll praise 'cause I know you're still in control. My praise is a weapon, it's more than a sound. My praise is the shout that brings Jericho down. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord, oh my soul. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. I won't be quiet, my God is alive. How could I keep it inside? I'm gonna praise the Lord, oh my soul. Praise the Lord. All right, we're gonna praise him 'cause he's sovereign. Praise 'cause you're sovereign. Praise 'cause you reign. Praise 'cause you rose and defeated the grave. I'll praise 'cause you're faithful. Praise 'cause you're true. Praise 'cause there's nobody greater than you. I'll praise 'cause you're sovereign. Praise 'cause you reign. Praise 'cause you rose and defeated the grave. I'll praise 'cause you're faithful. Praise 'cause you're true. Praise 'cause there's nobody greater than you. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. Let's go. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. I won't be quiet, my God is alive. How could I keep it inside? I won't be quiet, my God is alive. How could I keep it inside? I won't be quiet, my God is alive. How could I keep it inside? I'm gonna praise the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Woo!
Well, does anybody want to sing a song about King Jesus? If you missed last week, we introduced a new song called King Jesus. This is all about his majesty and his honor, all the praise, all the dominion going to our King. So let's sing it to him.
with all the dominion, a king who sits on the throne, Jesus. There is a king who moves away when he speaks over storm and sea, a king who moves away, Jesus. Our King. All hail, King Jesus, our King. All hail, King Jesus. There is a King whose name I can barely speak, for beauty so overwhelming, the name over all, Jesus. Our King. All hail, King Jesus, our King. All hail, King Jesus, our King. All hail, King Jesus, our King. All hail, King Jesus. All power and dominion, all glory and praise, all honor and wisdom to the Ancient of Days. All power and dominion, all glory and praise, all honor and wisdom to the Ancient of Days. All power and dominion, all glory and praise, all honor and wisdom to the Ancient of Days. All power and dominion, all glory and praise, all honor and wisdom to the Ancient of Days. Our King. All hail, King Jesus, 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 our King, our Lord, holy, holy, Jesus. All honor, all praise to you.
But not my salvation. Whom shall I fear? He is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? Do not my day of trouble, He will keep me safe. Sheltered in His presence, set apart from the rock, my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? He's the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? And on my day of trouble, He will keep me safe. On and on and King Jesus.
You guys can take your seats.
Wow. If you were here last week, you know that the band wrote that song. Original in-house. Is that good or what? Well, I'm glad you're here this morning. You probably realize I am not Daniel. I'm his dad. And they're having a weekend in Denver watching their daughter play soccer. Is that one of the best things? Do you love watching your kids play sports? Yeah. He needed a week off. I said, Dan, I can take care of it. So today I'm going to be speaking on watching what you think. In the Bible, it's termed as renewing your mind. And I learned the things I'm going to be sharing with you today, starting about 50 years ago. And every 5 years or so, I would do an 8-week sermon series on renewing the mind. So we may be here a while today. Now, we're going to condense it down. Daniel says that when it comes to whatever the subject is that we're vulnerable and authentic here. It starts with us. 48 years ago, Rebecca and I were in Redstone, starting to plant a church. And 48 years ago, I almost left the ministry after a gradual, almost 12-month decline in my spirit, my soul, so down, so anxious, almost left the ministry. Can you imagine without, I don't know what God would have done. But I seriously contemplated it. And this is how it happened. It was based on the way I thought. So I was co-pastor at Mid-Valley Baptist when we first came up from New Mexico. And there was a couple in the church. And the husband had been in jail before and still having difficulties in life, socializing and things. His wife would call me at night and say, could you go pick him up at the bar and bring him home? I would do it. We hiked together, became friends, and then he committed burglary and got arrested and asked me to come to court and speak for him. I said, well, sure, I did. A couple of months later, he did some other crime and said, would you come to court and speak for me? I'm like, I don't think they're really going to take me seriously. No, I can't do that. Well, he got angry. And he said, well, you're my friend and my pastor. That's what you got to do. Well, along the way, he was in and out of jail and trouble. And there were times that his wife and daughter would come and stay with the family in the church because of the what was going on between them. He got upset and thought that that was just a way that she was able to cheat on him. He called me one night and said, I'm going to come there. I'm going to bring a baseball bat. I'm going to bash your head. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to kill you, your family. And that threat was repeated over a period of time. So I began to have all these videos in my mind. We lived in Redstone. I was a Christian, by the way, had been to seminary, knew the Bible, but God was seeming like he was pretty far away. So I had all these thoughts of how he could hurt Daniel, Rebecca, me, all of us. Breaking the house that way, front, back, window, thousands, compulsive. And about that time, about a year into trying to start the church, there was a young couple in our church, and they had some kids about Daniel's age. Well, they had a daughter, and she was, like I said, about Daniel's age. She got sick with the croup. at home, and she died in her mother's arms. I'm a young pastor, and what did I do with that? I went with them, hospital through the process, funeral home, see the little girl in her dress, in the casket, bury the girl in the ground. So I began to have these thoughts about Daniel getting sick. He was 2 years old. About Daniel, he was 2 or 3. Daniel getting sick, being in a hospital bed. I can't do anything for him. Choking at home, being in the morgue, in a casket, in the ground. So I've got these 2 thought streams. Oh no, this guy's going to get us. These are the ways. This is the way Daniel is going to get sick and die. And believe me, about a year into the church plan or 2, I was not a healthy pastor. I could preach, but inside there was darkness and turmoil. At one point, God revealed to me what those thoughts were doing to me. And I read in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, a liberating verse. And this is what it says. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. In other words, the way the world thinks. Most people, just thoughts come in and they just go through their mind like a stampede, like a flood. Just thinking stuff, not being discriminating about what they think. Don't think that way. Instead, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. 2,000 years ago, Paul wrote this to the Romans. He says that I could be transformed from an anxious, defeated, down and out pastor to a peace-filled, joy-filled, purposeful, gracious pastor by the way I think. That's what renewing the mind means. Changing the way you think, changing what you think about. It was miraculous. It was miraculous. A few years later, all I had was the verse of Romans 12, and then 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 8, another verse that I was able to use, and God used to extra get me out of that. We got that on the screen? There we go. It's on that screen. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Again, be transformed. And the next one, 2 Corinthians 10, 8. We take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. I began to take those thoughts. It was hard because it had hit me like a ton of bricks. I began to take those thoughts of disaster and death and took them to Christ and asked God, I need your truth for this. I need your strength. These thoughts are so strong, I don't think humanly I can combat them. I need your power of your Holy Spirit within me to deal with these thoughts. So about that time, in the 80s, psychotherapists began coming up with some new therapies. Always before it had been Freudian and Jungian, and then cognitive behavioral therapy was developed. A therapy where just rationally within a human being, you pay attention to your thoughts and screen out the ones that are negative. Replace them with something you can think about differently. And I'm like, wow, this is so incredible. It came out of nowhere. And then as neuroscience has developed their imaging techniques to be able to see in the brain, it has revolutionized medical science. Because now, medical science with their imaging can not only see the 3 pounds of matter that is your brain. If you've been hunting or been around, you probably know what a brain looks like. This is your head. And this is your brain. 3 pounds of matter. Now, inside that 3 pounds of matter, there are 85 billion neurons. And they're pretty busy because there's 100 trillion connections between them. All this is going on. At minimum, people have 10,000 thoughts a day. Now, we couldn't deal with that many thoughts. It would be overwhelmed. And so what we have, neuroscience has discovered, a reticular activating system. It kind of regulates your sleep and awake, but it also is like a spam filter. It will allow to your conscious mind, for example, here comes a thought, and the thought is not in your head yet. Your reticular activating system, which, by the way, you calibrate. It will only let in stuff that you're interested in or that you want to think about. So whatever you're thinking about during the day, you can change the channels because this guy presents the thought, and once you begin to process the thought, often we use our imagination. And our imagination in our brain begins to build neural networks that can be symbolized that look like a tree. So in your brain, you have a neural network about, did you have a dog when you were a kid? All right, look, you guys are sound, there's smiles, because you've got a neural network of whatever your doggy's name was. But if you were a kid and walking and a dog bit you, you may have a different neural network. Your brow is furrowed instead of the smile. You've got a neural network for butterflies and trees, cars, houses, people, yourself. There's thousands of them. And every time that you have a thought that presents itself to your mind, it typically activates some neural network, and it brings up all the previous experiences, all that you previously heard or thought about that subject. Each one has a different subject coded with emotion. So your little doggy, when you were little, if it was good, you had an emotion of pleasure and happiness. So in our brain, we begin to process those things. And as we do, like I said, it either builds a neural network, adds to a neural network. Every time that you have a thought about this subject, it adds a branch. It makes it stronger. What we don't realize, this neural network can act like an antenna, calling in similar thoughts. If it's good, that's a good thing, but if it's not good, it's not so good. And so when a thought comes in, we process it typically in our imagination. For example, what are you going to have for lunch today? Some of you are thinking, I hope you're not going to speak too long because I'm really hungry. Now, you thought about eating something somewhere. You have a neural network of food, and a lot of it's good, and you have some things you just don't like. I mean, like kale. I could tell you how to prepare kale. Anyway, there's positive and negative thoughts about food, but you have a neural network of food, and you begin to process, and in your imagination, you begin to visibly picture where lunch would be and how lunch would be. It's just almost automatic. And so, what are you going to do for lunch? Here's the thought. And so you take it in and process it in your imagination, and you add a branch to your tree of what's for lunch, which I guess is a good process to have. Now, the reason that this all is called now neuroplasticity is that your brain is always changing. And primarily the way it changes is what you allow yourself to think, consider, and imagine about. Your brain is different than yesterday. They used to think the brain pretty well developed by 3, and it was that way the rest of our lives. And now they can actually image inside of a brain, and they can see these neurons. I forget, there's 85 billion neurons. I think I told you that a while ago. They don't know what's in them, but they can see them and see their activity as they build the neural networks. Your brain is different now than it was a minute ago. hopefully not still thinking about what you're going to eat, but you're processing, all right, what's this guy saying? Where's he going with this? So when that happens, when a thought comes in and is processed by the imagination and adds here to this neuron sends a signal and releases hormones through the body, every cell of your body. And if it's a negative thing, like I told you my experience was, horribly negative, it released the hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. And those are the chemicals that keep you in a constant state of threat, stress. And it's hard on the body. I mean, it's one thing to have a reaction to an actual threat, and then you work it out and move past it. But we can maintain an active video of threats for minutes or hours and days. And it keeps our bodies in a continual state of stress, which is very unhealthy for us. So the mind, it's important that you understand that the mind is different than your brain. Your mind is your life force. Your mind is immaterial, spiritual. Your brain is physical. It's matter. And so you've got them interacting. If your mind ceases to exist, your brain and body dies. But when you're alive and well, your brain is sometimes proposing thoughts to your mind, and your mind is receiving thought input from maybe experience or what you see, and the imagination works to produce videos, pictures, and actual branches of memory in your brain. Let's take, for example, let's say you're camping in a tent in the woods, and you're out there alone. You had your s'mores, now you're in your tent. Your sleeping bag. Oh, it's so good to be away from phones and stuff. I'm going to sleep good tonight. What was that noise? All right, what was that noise? It's a bear. Everybody knows. It's a bear. Probably. And so in our mind, we're presented with a thought, a noise. It's a bear. And so what we do in our imagination, we have this camera up in this tree looking down on our campsite. Our imagination plays a video, it's not real, it's imaginary, of our campsite with a big old bear walking around. And so the camera image, the imagination of the bear. Now I think about the TV report I saw last week about a woman who was drug out of her tent at night by a bear. I've got that. And then I think about, I've got another camera over here, and this camera shows me an angle, and it shows the bear coming up and swiping my tent, grabbing my foot, and pulling me out, kicking and screaming. And all that can happen quickly, but a half an hour later, are you going to sleep? Well, what you do, you get your flashlight, you open the flap on your tent, you look out, and guess what it really is? A squirrel. Yeah, exactly. And so you got activated a neural network of fear by a bear that wasn't there, but was alive in your imagination. Do you see how that works? All of this works instantaneously. The body is flooded with those hormones, and we are continually developing videos of the bear, what he's doing, where is he, he's getting me, that kind of thing. And so we go through this, and we find ourselves in a state of terror, a state of terror. Our imagination is so powerful that through it, through our thoughts and our imagination, we actually construct and build physical structures in our brain. We can also reshape them, and we can destroy them. It all happens, a thought, imagination plays the thought, and then I've got the problem here with this structure, physical structure, coming out into my brain. So all this happens, and often we're not even aware until it's too late. Have you ever found yourself and you're driving or you're sitting and you begin having a thought that's about something in the future that might happen that would be very painful? And I begin these thought movies, and before I know it, several minutes later, I'm all upset. How did that happen? It was a perceived thought. Or I can replay a thought about someone criticizing me. Now, who likes to be criticized? Nobody. Because we want to think that we've got what it takes. But when someone criticizes us, and perhaps it could be a boss, we can't talk back. And so we take it, and then we begin to process it. We begin to imagine, we replay that conversation. And we do that about a dozen times. On the 12th time, I've now multiplied the pain of that 12 times. On the 12th one, what I do is I stand up in my imagination and I let that boss have it. I might punch him in the nose in my imagination. And so I go on through the next several days, 35, 80 replays, multiplying the pain, feeling of helplessness, anger, and resentment, and bitterness toward that person. Now, we can pre-play as well, like I told you about at the first. We can pre-play something that might happen that would be bad. It almost never happens that way, but we pre-torture ourselves about something that never happens. That's not a really good way to think. Now, I've learned over the years in counseling and with myself that there are 3 areas where we typically experience negative thoughts. The first area is worry. Well, duh, anxiety, because we find ourselves in a world that's big, and there aren't a lot of things in the world for us, and so we find ourselves with challenges and thinking about not being able to meet those challenges. We pre-play a negative event. For example, what I told you about Daniel getting sick. The first time that occurred, during the time I was with the parents of that little girl, seeing Daniel in a casket, and then over a period of days and weeks, I saw him in all kinds of terrible disease, death situations. So I was pre-playing, I was pre-torturing myself to something that never happened. Daniel's doing well. You see him here on Sundays. Look at the time, probably 12 months. I tortured myself about something that wasn't going to happen. But that's the way that worry works. Worry works to try to take us and be able to take us down that road to multiply those feelings. And we build this, I had a whole negative neural network about Daniel getting sick and dying. And it was very unpleasant. It kept shooting thoughts up into my imagination, which in turn built more branches on the tree. So there's, first of all, worry. And then if I can find the right page, I'll give you the second one. Actually, I know it, but I want to make sure I'm giving you everything you need on worry. All right, the second one is negative thinking. Negative thoughts. And those can be negative thoughts about me or about others. Do you ever have any negative thoughts about yourself? What an idiot you are. I mean, what a mess up you are. I mean, you're always, I mean, you'll never turn out to be anything. I mean, if I were to stumble over and fall down off this little stage, my thought would be, what a klutz. I mean, everybody is just making fun of you. I mean, you guys wouldn't do it, but my thought would be that I failed in front of everybody. I would get my imagination, I would replay all the other times that I have done something that messed up, other failures. I would pre-play the possibility that I'm going to fall off the upper stage. In other words, our imagination goes wild based on something negative about myself. Sometimes the thought that comes, and it will say, you are such a loser. Now, if somebody talks to you and they say you, it's somebody else talking, right? And we're going to think this through in a minute. But if you process it, if you take it in, you change the pronoun to I'm such a loser. And my imagination goes wild with all the ways that I've been a loser. So you got to watch those thoughts that present themselves to you and make sure that you're looking at the origin possibility. As I said a moment ago, your boss chews you out, you have a fight with your wife last night, your spouse, and so you build a replay of that, and it multiplies the pain, changes the dynamic. On about the 50th replay, the other person has become a true monster, and I'm very innocent. I'm a victim, and they shouldn't have done that thing. And so it plays through our mind and makes us feel helpless and worried about it happening the next time. When we build a case and prosecute other people in our imagination and our mind, it's called anger, resentment, bitterness, grudge. Is there anyone you could think of right now who did you wrong in the past that never was ever resolved, and it kind of stirs you? It affects your bodily response, because when you got that treatment, your pulse went up, heart rate, and when you think about it, it's unresolved, it can affect you the same way. All right, the next category of thoughts that can take us is temptation. I would imagine that of all the counseling opportunities that I have, 90% would be in one of those areas. Someone comes in and they are desperate because their mind has gone to town with them and built a negative network, and they're feeling so down and so disturbed and so anxious and so angry. And they come in worried about stuff. But temptation is another category. Temptation usually is about sex or greed. Temptation is an inclination in your imagination to see yourself doing something you shouldn't be doing, something that's wrong, something that would be hurtful for you and for other people. But when we're imagining it, isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to think about breaking our budget and spending money and having that new car? And our imagination shows us riding in the car. It feels so good, and I'm driving around, people are looking like, wow, who's that guy in that car? That's so cool. Or perhaps a young man would see a young lady and say, man, she's hot. And he would imagine him having his way with her in various ways in his imagination. Now, at the end of those imaginings, lust or greed, we don't have it that we were desiring. And so now we're let down. It felt so good to enjoy it and get away with it, and nobody knows. Then at the end, it lets me down because I don't have it. So where do these thoughts possibly originate? We know that these are the thoughts that we usually face. Who would it be, not a person, but a spiritual entity, who would want to work and inspire us to fear? The devil. The Bible tells us who this villain is, who wants to steal, kill, and destroy, to take you down, to diminish your happiness, destroy your joy, make you bummed out, to give up, to quit the ministry. You see, 48 years ago, as I was going through all those thought scenarios, after a year and a half of just being beat up by those, God in his graciousness revealed to me the origin, fear. Now, let me say that your thoughts can be prompted, even negative thoughts, about something you see or something you've experienced. It's not always Satan behind the thoughts that you have that are worry, but he would sure love to enhance them and to energize them so that you would be tempted to just keep going. Worry feels like we're doing something about the problem, doesn't it? But actually, it's destructive. And then the negative, devil, the actual word, Satan means enemy. God's enemy, your enemy. Devil means accuser. You're no good. You don't have what it takes. Hey, don't even go because you can't bring it. Don't go to that because nobody's going to be there to like you. Nobody likes you. You see, he is the accuser, and he accuses us, and he accuses other people through us. That person's terrible. That person's a dumpster fire. I mean, they have nothing to bring. In fact, they're just negative. Stay away from them and tell your friends how bad they are. You see, we're multiplying the accusation. I get it. The accusation can be amplified by the accuser and multiplied so that it involves other people. And then temptation, well, that's an easy one, isn't it? Temptation is, Jesus identified Satan and said he's the father of lies. Temptations are lies. That you can do something that God says is wrong, that would hurt you and others, and you can get away with it. Nobody will know, and it'll be okay. It's a lie. Temptation is a lie. So those three areas, God says for us to watch out and be alert. 1 Peter 5. Be alert. 1 Peter 5:8. Be alert and of sober mind. Oh, there's the word mind. Of all things, how did that get there? Be of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. He's not just going to eat your lunch. He's going to try to swallow you and bring you down by worry, accusation, or temptation. But it says in 9, resist him, standing firm in the faith. The verse before this says, cast all your cares on God. So that's a good start. But it says, you need to be alert. There's an enemy who wants to take you down. Maybe in your thoughts, you haven't really given much attention to what you think. And you realize now, I am beset by worry. I'm beset by temptation or accusation. You see, you can either be a casualty or a combatant. It's your choice. But whether or not you do anything, this is going on. And your imagination is playing the game. Your reticular activation system is presenting you with the thoughts that are most repetitive. You can recalibrate by changing those thoughts. Let's look how to do that as we look to the next scripture. Let's go back to the renewing of the mind. Romans 12:2. Romans 12:2 says that we can be transformed by what we think and what we think about and how we think. From a person who's desperate, a person who's passive, to a person of purpose, a person of power, a person of dignity and resilience. And the next passage, 2 Corinthians 10, is going to give us even a greater insight. The weapons we fight with, do you see the terminologies? This is warfare. Daniel, a couple weeks ago in Philippians 4, said, war has been declared on you. You better declare it back. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. They're not just ordinary human. Ordinary human weapons can resist some of this, but they have divine power to demolish strongholds. 2,000 years ago, Paul called this a stronghold. I always saw it like a fort with block by block that was built thought by thought. But now we know that it is a neural network. And it says that we can destroy those neural networks by taking every thought captive to Christ. So here's what happens. A thought comes to us of worry, negativity, or temptation. And what we do, we inspect it. We haven't let it into our mind yet. We're not allowing our imagination to work on it. It's still right here. Listen to this terminology. When a thought presents itself to you, a thought of temptation is not sin. A thought of doubt is not sin. But if you take it in and you process it in your imagination, showing yourself, demonstrating to yourself the fruit of that temptation, that's where the sin starts. So you inspect it, and if you inspect it and it's one of those categories, you reject it. Now, that thought was going to go in there and build another branch on the neural network of fear, worry, whatever it was. But when you reject it, it's not going in. That neural network tree is not going to be built. And guess what? Neuroscience tells us that when we reject this thought, we are rejecting our mental activity of dealing with those kind of thoughts. And one branch that you previously had brought in falls out. It's amazing. I experienced it. I didn't know what it was. And so of the first 100 times that you have a temptation to think of a negative thought, when you walk out of here, you're going to be amazed at the overwhelming ferocity and activity of those negative thoughts that you haven't paid attention to before. Of the first 100, you'll probably catch maybe 23. And that's a good batting average. You'll be up to 50 by the middle of the week, but you've got to fight. When is the fight over? It's over when the other guy is down. When you get to 23, 47 of those branches are going to fall out. Eventually, you are going to reject and resist those thoughts of that neural network, and you're going to take it down branch by branch until the landscape of your mind, where that toxic, thorny, poisonous tree was, you take it down, you tear down, you demolish the stronghold, and now it's grass and flowers. It's your mind. It's the landscape of your mind, and you can determine what it looks like. Just don't fall victim to those negative thoughts. Now, the next verses we're going to look at, Philippians 4. Daniel preached on this. Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. All right, here comes this bad thought about something bad going to happen next week. I can't figure it out. I give it 12 times. Planning is fine. Planning for lunch is fine. But when I can't figure it out, I am going to take it, I'm going to take that thought intact, to God, bypassing, and I'm going to say, God, this thing that I'm worried about, this package of worry, I'm leaving it with you. I'm not going to spend my mind, my time, getting ground on about this. God, I'm giving it to you because I trust you. And you're going to build your faith neural network. Trust. You're going to get God's truth. He says, you know, that's a terrible thing that could happen, but I want you to know, I'll be with you. I'll be with you to give you what you need to deal with that difficult situation. And he gives us strength. Strength to resist. So it takes about a month until you begin to diminish that negative, toxic neural network. But that's only if you fight it all your conscious time. You reject those thoughts, take it to God, captive to Christ, and begin to clean out your mind. Take out the toxicity and bring in the truth and the love and the grace and the presence of God where you can stand firm. You've heard something today. Many of you know what I'm talking about intuitively. You're saying, hey, I know this so well. I've been experiencing it. And you have a chance now to make a change. When you walk out and the first negative thought presents itself to your mind, you're like, oh no, not this time. No. God, I need you. I need your strength and your truth to resist and repel this thought. That you can tear down strongholds of toxicity and negativity and sin and pain and clean it out. Your brain can be transformed by neuroplasticity as you work on it with your imagination, resisting thoughts, and you can be free. Does it sound like good news? Do you feel like you've gotten today a mechanism of operation that you can understand? I've gone into a lot of medical science, but you can Google it in 5 minutes and learn the terms and the way that this works. Let me pray for you as you come today. Lord God, thank you so much. You created us in your image. Such a complex and wonderful physical system. Thank you for our brains and the power that our brains have. God, forgive us for using it in the wrong way. God, forgive us for using it treacherously against ourselves and others. God, forgive us for allowing temptation a foothold. And God, bring your cleansing power of forgiveness. God, bring your power of clarifying and clearing our minds. We want to think about whatever's true, noble, worthy, pleasant, beautiful, positive, loving, and gracious. In Jesus' name, amen.
Just want to thank you for your presence, Lord. Will you sing this with me today? Sing, I love you, Lord. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Let's sing all my life. And all my life you have been faithful. the darkest night. You are close like no other. I know you as a father. I know you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. Yeah. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. Thank you, Lord. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after, oh yeah, running after me. Running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. So is in all my life, and all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
From life experience, through the scriptures, undergirded by psychology and medical science, hopefully today you have heard freedom. You've heard change, transformation. May the power of God be available to you, that you will receive to deal with the thoughts that present themselves into your mind, and you will clear out the clutter that's been holding you down. In God's name. Love God, love people. We'll see you next week.